did transition pictures for Kobe Bryant, the basketball player. He died at the age of 41 in 2020 in a helicopter crash along with 8 other people, one of whom was his daughter. Many of you asked me to do him, and I held back because there were children involved and family members, and it just felt like such a tragedy that I didn't want to wade into that. One of the great things about doing pictures for a sports person is that I know absolutely nothing about them, guaranteed. I didn't even know what this guy looked like, actually, and did his pictures from this photograph. Only then did I look up details about his life, and it turns out that he played for the Los Angeles Lakers for 20 years and won every trophy, going, I think, probably several times. Apparently he won 2 Oscars for some films he did, and was in the process of starting an animation studio when he died. It was a foggy, rainy day when his helicopter took off to go to this academy. He has this kind of sports academy in Thousand Oaks, and the helicopter crashed into a mountainside. So, as I said, I got that photograph and went into the energy of Kobe Bryant. And when I found him, it was like there were 2 metal bars in the air. He was standing on one and holding on to the other. For security, for safety. This may represent the helicopter as it got into trouble. As I watched, the metal rods began juddering up and down, and he fell off. He slid between them, banged himself on the lower one, and just fell. He fell and he fell and he fell until he entered that metaphorical cave I always see. There was a pile of gravel or something, and he slid down it, landed at the bottom, winded, confused, and thought, where is everybody? There was no awareness that he had crossed over. That wasn't a priority for him, trying to figure it out. He was all about, where is everybody? He was very, very concerned about the whereabouts of the people he'd been with. Now, interestingly, in his life, he was a devout Roman Catholic. So you'd think he might be going, well, where's Jesus? Where's God? But there was none of that. He had tremendous poise and humility, I thought. He was very accepting of the situation. He didn't try to enforce his own ego concerns on what he was seeing. He accepted it and said, well, where is everybody? That was his first priority. His second priority was, let me find a way out of here. And I know from when I had my near-death experience that you do feel that way up to a point. It's like, oh, it'll all be okay. This will stop in a second and I'll just go back. And in his search, very relaxed, very poised, he almost naturally strolled up the symbolic tunnel I always see, with none of those religious overtones that you would expect somebody who was a devout Catholic to have. He was so relaxed about it all because he thought it was going to end very soon. But the tunnel brought him to the light. Again, not what he was expecting. But now it began to dawn that this was it. He actually had crossed over. Many people have asked, when a group of people die together, do they all go together towards the light? But each person has their own soul's path. So no, they don't travel together. Each death, each transition is individual to the person. You only know them in life. They're mortal companions. Even if they're family, they're mortal companions. They don't cross over with you. Maybe you meet them later, I have no idea. But in the transition, it's only one person at a time. And he stood before the dome, and again, he was incredibly accepting. Maybe this is God. Maybe this is where heaven is. And rather than fight it, he simply turned around. He put his hands on his heart like this. He doesn't have a body at this point, but this was the symbolic aspect of it. put his hand on his heart and allowed himself to fall backwards into the light. And he drifted away. Why this was stunning to me was because so many of the transitions I've done, except for people with Alzheimer's and young children, so many of them are involved with ego matters, shedding surplus ego. Things that would weigh you down and stop you ascending once you get to the light. And Kobe Bryant, despite his massive accomplishments and being as famous and rich as he was, he didn't have that. He just seemed to have a knowing, an understanding that it was all good, that the universe was a benign place. He saw it perhaps in terms of God and Jesus and so on, but it's a benign place. We are loved. We are part of the whole. And he had the faith, with a little f, to go along with the program and not fight it. His embrace of this process so maturely, in such a composed way, was a lesson to us all. I don't know how we reached that point. But there was something about the way he did this that was like, just give into it. Approach it open-mindedly. Accept that in this continuum of life and death and life and death and life and death, this is just one stepping stone, one stage. And make it as harmonious and loving and smooth and accepting as you possibly can. Embrace death the way you embraced life, because it's all part of the same thing. And that's what I learned from Kobe Bryant.